Earth-sized object smashed into Uranus.
Uranus. It's got rather boring clouds, truth be told.
Rings, rather than looking like that when you look through a telescope, they're actually...
Uranus, the seventh planet from the Sun, can be easily overlooked in our solar system. It has some unusual features and a funny name, but it holds a treasure trove of captivating discoveries that remain hidden from common knowledge. In this video, we'll explore some lesser-known facts about Uranus, revealing its special qualities and the mysteries that make it a fascinating celestial object to learn about. Number 13. Uranus is the first planet discovered in modern times. Unlike the well-known planets of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which were recognized by the ancient Greeks, Uranus remained hidden from human awareness until the 18th century. The credit for discovering Uranus goes to the English astronomer William Herschel. Herschel primarily earned his reputation as a comet hunter. In 1781, while scanning the night sky, he noticed a hazy, moving speck amidst the stars. Initially, he believed it might be another one of those celestial tailed visitors, comets. Intriguingly, Uranus had been observed in the night sky at least 21 times, but astronomers had mistaken it for an extremely faint star. Number 12. Uranus was named after the ancestor of gods and titans. Uranus got its name from the Greek god of the sky, who happens to be the child of chaos. This is the oddball among the planets, as it's the only one named after the Greek god rather than the Roman equivalent. According to ancient stories, all the other major celestial bodies, including Pluto and Ceres, are somehow related to Uranus. They're his kids, grandkids, or great-grandkids. The only exception is Earth, also known as Gaia, who is his sister. In the world of Greek mythology, Uranus had a rather active family life. Besides the famous folks up on Mount Olympus, he had a hand in creating nymphs, titans, who later had a big showdown with the gods, one-eyed giants called Cyclops, and hundred-handed giants known as Hecatoncheires. Number 11. The planet was suggested to be named after the King of England. Believe it or not, the planet we now call Uranus almost ended up with a different name, one tied to the King of England at the time. When the discoverer Herschel was asked what to name this new find, he suggested Georgium Sidus, which means George's star. It was a nod to King George III, who ruled England during that era. The name of this seventh planet sparked debates that lasted for decades. Some folks even thought it should be named after the astronomer himself. Surprisingly, the name George's star stuck around in Britain for quite a while, only officially becoming Uranus in 1850. Number 10. Uranus is going to have its next summer solstice in 2028. Uranus is quite the distance from the Sun, about 2.8 billion kilometers on average. This enormous gap makes a single trip around the Sun take a whopping 84 Earth years. Just like here on Earth, Uranus experiences different seasons. In 2007, it had its vernal equinox in the northern hemisphere. But if you're planning to celebrate a summer solstice there, you'll have to wait until 2028. The last time it happened was way back in 1944. So if you were 1 Uranian year old, you definitely earned bragging rights for your longevity. Number 9. One can test his or her eyesight with Uranus. Even though Uranus hangs out in the distant reaches of our solar system and kept astronomers guessing for a long time, it's still possible to spot it without fancy gear. The thing is, Uranus isn't very bright in the night sky. Its apparent magnitude, which is how we measure a celestial object's brightness, ranges from 5.7 to 6.0. Number 8. Uranus is a rolling planet. Uranus is tilted at a unique angle of 97 degrees, making it seem like it's lying on its side. This causes strange effects: long periods of constant sunlight at one pole and continuous darkness at the other, lasting about 42 years each. Near the equator, there's a short, unusual day where the sun goes in circles, sometimes hiding behind the horizon. Number 7. The magnetic field of Uranus is not tied to the center of the planet. Uranus has a magnetic field, but it's different from Earth's. Its magnetic poles are not where you'd expect them. The southern pole is in the northern hemisphere, and the northern pole is in the southern hemisphere. Also, the magnetic axis isn't in the center. It's about 1/3 the way from the center. This happens because Uranus generates its magnetic field differently, relying on processes in its outer layers. Number 6. There is a dark spot on Uranus. Uranus has a rather mellow atmosphere compared to the other giant planets in our solar system. When the Voyager 2 spacecraft paid it a visit, scientists spotted just a handful of tiny clouds. However, there are still some interesting quirks in the mix. One of these is the Great Dark Spot, which astronomers discovered on Uranus in 2006. It's somewhat like the dark spots you find on Neptune. This thing is no ordinary spot. It's a seriously intense hurricane with winds that can reach speeds of up to 200 meters per second. Number 5. Uranus stinks of rotten eggs. Back in 2018, scientists got a closer look at what makes up the upper layers of Uranus's atmosphere. They used a fancy tool called an NIFS spectrograph and found something quite interesting. Turns out, those clouds up there are made of frozen hydrogen sulfide, the same stuff that gives rotten eggs their distinctive, well, flavor. This discovery tells us something pretty cool about Uranus. It suggests that this planet didn't start its life where it is now. Like all other giant planets, Uranus was actually born closer to the Sun, and then, in its early years, made a journey to its current spot in our solar system. Number 4. Satellites of the planet are named after the characters by Shakespeare and Pope. All 27 of Uranus's moons have names inspired by English poetry and drama, giving them a touch of literary flair. Among these moons, 3 of them go by the names Ariel, Umbriel, and Belinda. These names were borrowed from the characters in Alexander Pope's poem called The Rape of the Lock. Number 3. A season on Uranus lasts one long day. 42 years. Uranus spins pretty swiftly on its axis, taking just 17 hours to complete one full rotation, which is called a sidereal day. But Uranus tilts so much that one of its poles is usually facing the Sun. This means that at the North Pole of Uranus, a day lasts for half of a Uranian year, which equals a whopping 84 Earth years. So, if you could stand on the North Pole of Uranus, you'd witness a truly extraordinary scene. You'd see the sunrise, move across the sky for 42 years, and then, finally, set below the horizon. After that, you'd have a long, dark winter season, lasting another 42 years. Number 2. Uranus is the second least dense planet. When it comes to light and fluffy planets, Saturn takes the crown as the least dense in our solar system. Believe it or not, its average density is just 0.687 grams per cubic centimeter, which is even less than the density of water. So theoretically, if you had a pool big enough, Saturn would actually float in it, provided it was about 60,000 kilometers wide. Now, while Saturn is the champ in the lightweight category, Uranus isn't far behind. It's got the second lowest density among all the planets, with an average density of 1.27 grams per cubic centimeter. This low density has an interesting effect. Even though Uranus is a hefty 14.5 times more massive than Earth, you'd only feel about 89% of the gravitational pull there if you could somehow stand on its cloud tops. Number 1. The atmosphere of Uranus contains ice. When you glance at the dynamic, stormy atmospheres of Jupiter and Saturn, Neptune may seem, well, rather ordinary. It stands in stark contrast to the tempestuous clouds and eddies of its giant neighbors. Uranus, on the other hand, looks like a calm, uniform shade of blue. But with the help of improved instruments that allow us to observe planets in different wavelengths, plus insights from the Voyager 2 spacecraft, some fascinating discoveries have come to light. Take Uranus, for instance. It's not as serene as it appears. It boasts powerful zonal winds within its atmosphere, whipping along at speeds of up to 250 meters per second. These winds can even generate anticyclonic storms, reminiscent of Jupiter's famous Great Red Spot. aptly named the dark spot on Uranus. Uranus also showcases distinct cloud patterns that differ between its hemispheres. Some last mere hours, while others persist for years or even decades. But what really piques the curiosity is the unique ices found in Uranus's atmosphere. Methane, CH4, is the third most abundant component, lending Uranus its aquamarine hue. There are traces of other hydrocarbons like ethane, acetylene, methylacetylene, and diacetylene, believed to result from methane interacting with the sun's ultraviolet radiation, a process known as photolysis. Layers of Uranus's atmosphere contain confirmed traces of water, ammonia, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen sulfide. Due to the extreme cold, they exist in an icy state, which is why Uranus is often referred to as an ice giant. So, do you know any strange facts about Uranus? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video.